Hello, my name is Tristan Barnett, and today we'll be presenting on steel production and the effects on the global market. Gage.
Hi, I'm Gage.
I'm Kira.
I'm Mackenzie.
So the main focus of today's presentation is going to be steel production's effect on climate change, which then affects the global market, affecting steel production afterwards. Steel production affects this through the production of carbon dioxide, which then attributes to market disruptions, which then contributes to the demand, reducing steel production.
The steel production supply chain is a series of steps. The first step is the raw material extraction, which includes iron ore mining and coal mining. The second step is steelmaking process, which includes blast furnaces and electric arc furnaces. The third step is secondary metallurgy, where they refine and alloy and casting or shaping. The fourth step is hot and cold rolling. And then distribution and logistics is storage and handling, transportation, supply chain coordination. And the last step is market and end use, industry demand, and customer specifications. So steelmaking consumes about 20 gigajoules of energy per ton of crude steel. Massive amounts of water, gas, and electricity is consumed for steel production. A large steel plant produces 4 million tons of steel a year. It has energy to be equivalent to be output for a nuclear power plant. The steel production makes up 7 to 9% of global CO2 emissions. 1 ton of steel is about 1.9 tons of CO2. 90% of the emissions from steel production are caused by the use of metallurgical coal from blast furnaces. As the planet rushes towards greenhouse gas levels, temperatures will go beyond 2 degrees Celsius.
Good. So we see this global emissions and carbon dioxide affecting our global markets. We're going to use the US as an example on this. The US is currently the second largest steel importer. It imports almost 2 million tons of steel every year in February alone, actually, in fact. And we see that the US is slowly falling in its demand recently. While this is not completely attributable to climate change, it does play a large role along with the tariffs that are now hitting. AISI reports a 26.4% decrease on steel permit applications. That's showing that the demand in following months is also going to continue to fall. This isn't just January, February, and March it fell. It's going to continue. Since 2024, steel exports to the U.S. have been falling as well. Rolling Meadows reports a 1.4 decrease in steel exports by the U.S. Overall, globally, steel production has increased in profitability by $40 a ton, but the overall production has gone down by 0.7. So what we're seeing on the global stage right now is steel is becoming more profitable per unit, but the actual units produced is slowly decreasing due to the effects that we've gone through today.
All right, so what are the actions that we can take in order to solve these problems? One of the most important actions a company in the steel industry can take right now is reallocating capital away from the coal-dependent blast furnaces and towards processes with high decarbonization potential. Um, Electric arc furnaces and direct reduction of iron ore processes are two of these things that can help with that. EAFs use electricity to melt scrap metal and other minerals, offering a low carbon option. DRI uses hydrogen and other gases to reduce iron ore. This will create a way for steel manufacturers to reduce their carbon emissions. For every 1 ton of steel produced, it creates 1.9 tons of CO2. To reduce the total carbon emissions, companies can also rely more heavily on the steel recycling the smelted steel down and repurposing it after the natural lifespan of the base component. Recycling steel diverts from a landfill, reduces the need for a mine for more ore, and saves energy while lowering greenhouse gas emissions. Steel can be recycled an infinite number of times. It doesn't lose any of its properties in the process. It takes a non-renewable resource and makes it renewable. Steel companies can begin this in part of their production and slowly ramping it up growth as it becomes more efficient.
So what we found is that the steel production, the global market, and the climate change are all locked in one cycle with each other. Steel production gives off about 7% of global CO2 emissions, and that directly speeds up climate change. When the climate gets worse with crazy storms, flooding, and extreme weather, it hits construction and manufacturing hard, which then changes the demand for steel. When the demand drops or spikes, steel production responds and the whole cycle keeps feeding itself. The problem is it's not a self-correcting cycle. If we don't step in to fix it, the climate can get pushed too far, mess up ecosystems, hurt food supplies, and crash the entire system, including steel production itself. That's why companies and governments need to act now, switching to green steel processes, investing in renewables, and protecting the environment. Or we're going to end up in a situation where there is no more demand, no more steel, and honestly, no future.